So make a plan. Uh, and then the last step I said already is take the risks and change jobs. Thank you. I love that you know somebody you can send my way. I appreciate that. So now let's talk about a few limits before we talk about how to take the risk and win. Um, you're going to change jobs. You want to change careers. It's hard. I have some specific advice there based on having just coached a couple people through career changes and watched people try to change jobs, particularly getting hired at big companies. Um, Big companies, including Amazon, and that's sad. I don't like it, but they're risk averse. They feel like there's a billion people they can hire, and so go find the person that's likely not to fail, as opposed to most likely to succeed, or even if not most likely to succeed, highest payoff if they succeed. Taking risks is not rewarded at big companies. Um, because if you need to remove someone at a big company, it's a huge pain in the ass, and you may end up with a lawsuit. And so nobody bothers to sue small companies because they don't have any money. So suing a small company is blood out of a stone. But something like 66%, I once heard, old data of terminations in California end with a lawsuit or with compensation. And that's crazy. But the point is, since people know that, they're very afraid to take someone who doesn't look like a perfect match on paper. The point there being, if you want to change careers, you're going to probably need to do it at a smaller company, do it independently, or get inside a big company working in what you're known for, and then move internally once you've earned trust. So I'm just advising, have a plan for how you're going to make the move as well as how you're going to get the skills. Now, Furuki here says, I don't really like that plan for resume building personally. I feel like it's subject to so many problems. Um, yes. So his point is building a resume, the way I said may not work. I am not talking about a real resume. So thank you for helping me clarify. What Matt was suggesting is go talk to some people, real people, hiring managers, executives, founders that you want a job from. Don't ask them for a job. Ask them, what does this job take? What is required? And use that to build then the image of the type person they hire, or even get a resume from someone they have hired. Get that data. Then look at your own gaps to it and figure out how you're going to cover those skills or address those complaints. I am not talking about building something for a recruiter. I'm talking about using it to understand what it takes to do the job and be successful. All right. So I'll jump into questions in one more minute. The other thing I just want to say is when you're looking at changing careers or trying to have your dream job, you've got to think about how many things you can afford to be flexible on. In other words, do you need to live in a specific place, work at a specific time, a certain set of hours in a certain industry? It's going to be harder to change. Are you willing to move anywhere in the world, take lower pay or bad shifts? It's going to be a lot easier to get someone to take a risk on you. Are you willing to take a high risk job at a thinly funded startup? Are you willing, something Devin Nash and I have talked about on his channel, are you willing to risk working for free for a little while? Can you try out the role in a nonprofit or volunteer intern situation? I'll give you an example. Maybe the only place you can get a job as the type of role you'd like is with a company that makes military weapons, or that is into oil fracking and potentially pollutes the environment. is one of your constraints, I won't work in on what I perceive as an unethical company or a company that's against my personal morals or vision of how the world should be. That's fine. Like, I can completely respect that, but it's taking one thing off the list, and that's also fine. But when you take off the list, I want to live in I only want to live in Miami Beach, and I only want to work 9 to 5, and I need to be paid $250,000 because I go to a lot of nightclubs here. And really, when I say 9 to 5, I mean I'm going to get in at 10 because I'm up late a lot at the nightclubs I just mentioned. You're adding a lot of constraints, and that's going to be harder to move jobs to your dream job. So, all right. Let's see. I'm checking out chat real quick. Devin mentioned that oftentimes employers write job qualifications vastly overstate. I completely agree with that, and I'm not saying look at public job descriptions. I'm saying talk to someone in the field about what the real skills are. It's about doing research, and I talk about this all the time. I said this in the last broadcast, I'm sure. If you're not on LinkedIn building your network so that you have a network of people you can chat up and ask questions, that will cost you in the long term. I ignored LinkedIn for a long time, and I ignored networking because it takes time, and you're like, yeah, I'd rather just watch TV tonight, or I've got so much work to do. Like, what am I going to do reaching out to this person to have lunch or networking? You got to build a network, and the problem is you can't do it quickly. If you don't have any other plan to build your career to be what you want, just start making connections and building a larger network that will pay off and get you opportunities. I had a friend who got a job recently at a place I recommended him. He basically said, look, what I learned from this is I have to have someone recommend me into workplaces, and it needs to be someone who already has credibility there. And so since I had credibility at the place he got hired, they looked at him when they wouldn't have otherwise. But his basic point was network was the only thing that got him a job. So, all right, that's enough preamble. I'll show more pictures later. Mods, let's put the first question up. I'll go ahead and read it. Do you ever take a chance on hiring people who are very passionate but less qualified? Yes, I do. I've gotten burnt that way. I love passion and intelligence, or apparent intelligence. And I've gotten burnt that way because sometimes I've hired people who are passionate and it turns out they weren't very good. Because I so much love high energy people. But I do this a lot. And I've done a talk on how to interview well, but I'll repeat a key piece of advice from that. You can see the whole thing on YouTube if you want more. The number one and number two things in getting hired, once you get an interview in person with real people, not HR, are appearance and enthusiasm. They aren't what you know. They aren't your qualifications, your resume, anything. It's basically, can people relate to you, and do they like you? And so having it's bubbly delivery. All right, stream's gonna get better. And Quentin, thank you for gifting a sub to Extra Q. Extra Q, I appreciate that very much. Subs in the channel, love it. Thank you. Everything that we get from a sub, from subs and bits, cheering, goes to a charity I'm a part of, the Washington Trails Association. We have a show coming later this fall that will be more about that. Champagne. We're going to be celebrating some stuff after I get off stream, but it's private to the person we're celebrating, so you'll just have to celebrate with me in spirit. All right. Anyway, what else would I say about passion? Yes, passion matters. It's a huge qualification. The trick is getting the interview, having reasonable answers that don't give the person a reason to disagree and dislike you, and then helping them feel like this is a person I'd like to work with. Now, it helps to have skills, and they may test you, and if you have no skills, that will disqualify you. But when they're choosing between people, whether it's conscious or subconscious, that's why they choose people they like. I'm not an expert in this area, but to me, that seems to be a lot of the problems we have with diversity in workplaces is people pick people that look like them, sound like them, and don't put them off. And that leads to more of the same in the workplace. Theory, don't have facts on that. Anyway, I think the real question here is, how can you get hired if you don't have all the qualifications? I think that's what's really being asked. And I think the way to do that is ask the other person, how could they take a risk? Could they hire you as a contractor? Could they let you demonstrate your skills? Could you come in another role and do this as an additional responsibility? It's all those different ways to get people to take a risk. And the best way is get in to a job and then demonstrate or try out new roles. It's very hard to get hired for something directly where you don't have a lot of the qualifications because people are risk averse. I like Froki. That's despite his much higher marks in intelligence, I got the position and he didn't. Yes, being likable. All right. So I guess this question came in from Hephaestus. I was asking from the perspective of someone currently hiring a writer. I've got one candidate who's pretty middle of the pack, but she's really interested in the subject matter. Yeah, that's a tough one. Passion, though, usually trumps skill. So what I would ask there is she good enough? Like, can she write well enough? And then passion will carry her. If she's really a bad writer, no amount of, you don't want a really passionate, unqualified doctor. You'd rather have a really bored to death, kind of over himself or herself doctor who's done your heart operation 10,000 times and can do it 10,001 in their sleep. But if you had someone who's maybe a middle of the pack doctor, but is passionately interested in your case and is going to give you special treatment or put themselves into it, I would actually take the middle of the pack experience and grades surgeon that I was connected to and I felt was going to listen to me about my medical issues than the expert who's done 10,000 and is treating you like a factory. But I would take the factory over the incompetent doctor. That's the best advice I can give you. All right, let's move on. We have another question with a lot of votes, and then the questions beyond that have only a few votes. So we've gained a bunch of viewers. I'll just remind everybody as I go to this next question that we use a Twitch extension for asking questions about the topic, which is how to get to do exactly what you love in life. We've talked a bunch about that up to this point, like the preamble, and now I'm answering questions from the audience on it. So go into the extension. It works on both mobile and web, and vote or ask new questions. The instructions just popped up in chat. So this question is, how much do you think happiness at work depends on your actual work versus your environment? People, culture, and boss. Yeah, I meant to mention this. I had it in my notes, but I wanted to get to questions, so now I am. This really depends on different people. And what I mean by that is some people care more about the work and some people don't. So for those of you who saw me coaching Kristen on stream on Monday, she was transparent that, of course, the work matters to her, but it's really about her team. It's about the people she works with. And so for her, it's the people, the culture, the boss. And in fact, we know 70% of people who leave a job, it's not what they like maybe, but when they do leave, they leave because they don't get along with their direct supervisor. And so, being very honest, 70% of people who've ever quit a job working for me quit because of me. sometimes that's because I told them you're not doing a very good job. Maybe you should leave. Um, but sometimes it's because they didn't get along with me or I didn't get along with them or we didn't fit or mesh, even if we could be polite. I would say, though, you have to think about this for yourself, which is when you're working, what's most important to you? Is it what you're doing, or is it the people around you and the environment? Is it that you can go home at 5 and turn your brain off if you can? Is it that you have a boss or teammates who support you? For a lot of people, that is a huge concern and more important than the actual work. Now, for me, the work does matter, and I don't have a percentage here. I work with a really great team at Amazon, part of the Twitch Prime team and the Amazon Games org. And Kristen says, yeah, it's Kristen that I was coaching on Monday, and she says culture is my jam, and that's exactly right. That's her thing. And so she could work different projects, different places, and if the people and the culture were good, she's probably going to be happy and satisfied. For others, they really want to be making games, or they really, different people, different things. They really want to be doing difficult accounting, or they really want to have highly paid work as a lawyer. And the fact that the work is, mind numbing or involves defending difficult people, they can live with. How much? I think it is person dependent, but I think this is a good point. Don't leave a job thinking that different work is going to make you happy if it's actually not the work that you're struggling with, but the people. Separately, and I do say this a lot, if you have choices and you're working with jerks or at a company that doesn't fit you for work, get out and go do what you want. Go do what you already love somewhere nicer. There are definitely ethical and unethical companies. There are jerks and not jerks. One time in my past, I'll share this story. I had the pleasure of, I was working in a company, a startup, where I was vice president of engineering, but I also ran HR because there was no one else around to do it. And I had the pleasure of defending our CEO from a harassment claim, which I believed he was guilty of. But my job was defend him. So that told me something about the environment I was in. I needed to defend someone from something I'm like, yeah, guilty as hell. Now, maybe I was wrong. Like, I didn't know inside his brain. I won't swear that I'm right, only that I thought I was. And that made it hard. And I'm not there anymore. Haven't been for a long time. All right. That was a great question. If there's follow-ups on it, put them in as follow-ups, and I'd love to talk about it more. Next question. How does your own at-work attitude fit into this topic? Oh, my God. Yeah, I meant to say this, right? Like, I love these questions. They're great prompts for things I meant to talk about because there's so much to say on this topic. If you're a perennially unhappy person, you're always going to be able to find something wrong with the job you're in, and your dream job won't help you. It reminds me of a story I wanted to share from something I've read about this, which is there was a woman who really loved baking. And so she decided, I'm going to leave. She was working at a veterinary clinic. And it's from one of the many books I've read, and probably one of the ones I recommend. But if you haven't heard it before, I just want to put it out there. She was going to, so she went and founded a bakery. And the result was she was like, had to get up really early and get in and bake. And she had to keep the books. And she was always worried about her business going out of business. And she was running out one day out the front of her bakery with a bunch of stuff she was going to deliver, like cakes or something. And she got in her car to drive away and realized she had left the front door of her bakery open and unlocked. And she realized, you know what? I hate baking. And so she closed down her bakery and went to do something else. The moral of the story is She had loved baking, and after she ran her own bakery for not that long, like a year or two, she didn't bake again anything for like 5 years. So not only did her dream job not turn out to be her dream job, but she ended up taking something she loved and turning it into something she hated. And yeah, Furoki says feels bad, man. Midlife crisis, completely. Couldn't agree more. That may have been a midlife crisis, may have been a lot of things. But the point is, your attitude determines a ton about your work. And if you choose to love your work or to find what's interesting in your work, you can make a lot of jobs either more tolerable or even good. Now, I'm not saying just like, oh, it's all on you, and if you don't like your work or if you really want to be doing something else, suck it up and learn to love what you're doing. Life is short, and I'm actually here to encourage you to try and find a path to the thing you want to do. Just like I'm doing by streaming with you folks tonight, right? Like, this is more fun. I love teaching. I love the feedback. We get a lot of good stuff from YouTube, follow up on all the people we help, and I love it. And so if I'm doing what I love, I want to make sure you guys have the chance to do that too. So I do think, though, there's a point that your attitude really matters. And if you have an attitude that's going to find fault in stuff, you're going to find fault probably everywhere. And so there's a saying I like, it's more about money, but it's the secret to being happy is not having more, but being satisfied with less. And that doesn't mean be lazy or don't try and achieve, but you can reach for a lot without needing to have that lot to be happy. So you can be ambitious without being dependent on the results of that ambition. It is a mental trick. A lot of what we're going to talk about on this show, this tonight and always, is going to be about controlling your own brain and getting it to work the way you need to. All right. Thanks for that question. Keep them coming in here. And Chad, if you have thoughts on this, like not new questions, but stuff you want to say, there's like 3 or 4 people talking in chat, but you're all welcome. All right. So we'll drop to the next question, which is, what are good ways to show your passion for the job in an interview, especially as an introvert? So it is true that one way to show passion that is not easy for an introvert is high energy. And then there's a set, but if that doesn't fit you, you don't need to fake it. There are things you can do. Learn a little bit about body language, eye contact. If you're uncomfortable with eye contact, lean in, hold your posture, be aware of what you're communicating. Even if you're an introvert, like the classic introvert is like protecting themselves with a pillow and kind of cuddled, like hiding. That's not going to work in an interview. So you're going to have to figure that out. But from a body language viewpoint, there's stuff you can do. The rest of the way to convey passion is through your projects and what you put on your resume. Passionate public, well, an introvert wouldn't be a passionate public speaker, but pick something that is introverted, potentially introverted. Passionate about precise detail. Go ahead and say passionate about precise detail, and then have 2 or 3 examples of it. And if you're asked about it, be able to display them. Be able to talk with passion, even if it doesn't mean a lot of hand waving. Be able to speak convincingly. Know what you want to say. You don't have to be outgoing. The good thing about interviews is they are normally one-on-one. That said, there is some reasonable advice for an introvert of drink a little extra coffee or a Red Bull before you jump into trying to interview, because energy does matter. And I can't tell you anything different than that. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick break from questions because we're down to questions with 1 vote. I will answer those, but if people want to vote or add new ones, go ahead. And I'm going to have some fun. And yeah, drink a Red Bull. The Rex, who's currently, he lives in Hamburg. And so, middle of the night there. So he may have had one already. Um, all right. We're going to switch over and we're going to bring up some more photos real quick. Let me see if I can find this real quick. All right, so I said make a plan. I'm going to show you a little bit of my plan. It may be small on the screen, but you'll get the sense of it. Here it is. I'll lean out of the way so you can see me. So my goal is, hey, I wanted a life of freedom, like freedom to do what I wanted, freedom to travel. And this was all my plans to do it, and figuring out like who would support me, what I needed to do. And I'll be honest, I didn't follow a lot of the stuff on the plan, like exactly. But having made a plan and thought through it, I did do a lot of the things directionally. And so I started spending, like one of these is, I started spending time with people who engage me. And I started turning down meetings with people who drove me crazy. And I started figuring out how to do less travel. And so that's one of the reasons I no longer work at Twitch specifically, but only at Amazon, is Twitch is headquartered in San Francisco and I live in Seattle. And last year I spent 63 days on the road to California. And I had people in California who knew my name at the hotels. Like when I'd walk in, they'd be, oh, welcome back, Mr. Evans. And that's actually not good. That's like a terrible outcome. So I'm going to take this down so I can swing back into the middle and not hide behind it. But look, make a plan so that you can have what you want and be willing to make changes. So I step back. I loved my teams at Twitch. And I love the fact, a lot of you know I built bits and subs. I built Twitch subscriptions. Ligerbox, I love it. Finally caught a stream. Hello from Singapore. Hello and welcome in. We have the whole world here because the Rex right above you is from the EU. So we need somebody to check in from Africa and from South America. We'll see if that happens. And then we'll have, and I guess Antarctica, but I'm not going to hold my breath. So anyway, make a plan, but be willing to make changes. I gave up teams I like so I would have time to do this instead. We helped streamers make a living. That was part of the goal at Twitch Commerce, which is help people who do this full time make a living doing what they love. And I heard from all kinds of streamers how much they loved what we had done and that they were able to do this rather than some job they hated. You can get that story from one of our mods, Shadow Fox, when she's here. She's on stream right now making that living. But when Shadow Fox lost her previous job, streaming was her life, became her livelihood is the point. And I loved being part of helping people do that, but I had to move on from that in order to do more. Okay, I'll swap back to questions. Give me 1 second, because we have another one with good votes. So how much do you agree with this quote, shipping beats perfection? Also, fake it till you make it. Whoever asked this, I love it. Whoever voted for it, good job. How much do I agree with the quote, shipping beats perfection? I strongly agree with this. My style is to ship things, and I actually say, at least of engineering teams, nothing makes an engineering team as happy as seeing their stuff ship. I think of this like sports teams. Winning teams tend to win more. Losing teams tend to lose more. And so you want to get winning, and no matter what you have to do. This is also, by the way, why college teams, if you think about it, they almost all the good college teams play some small college early in their seasons and then destroy that college in whatever sport it is. Crazy. The Stay Hydrated bot. I love it. 4 ounces of water. Well, how about champagne? 4 ounces of champagne, same thing. Um, so I think shipping beats perfection is true. Get it live and iterate. That's agile methodology. That's all kinds of different company. Look, Wayne Gretzky, I'm a hockey player. Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And he's right about that. So shipping is a way of taking a shot. Get it out there. Shipping beats perfection. You don't want to ship crap. It's just like, obviously, you don't want to take a shot that has no chance at all. But I can tell you almost all the goals I score come from, they come from me just taking a shot because I'm not that good of a shot. So I put the puck on the net and it goes in. So shipping beats perfection. Yes, I agree. If you have more questions about that, let me know. Fake it till you make it. Somewhat. On both of these, it's a matter of degree. You can't ship crap. That's a bad idea. And you can't fake from nothing. But in both cases, being confident and trying is way better than doing nothing. And so, yes, fake it till you make it. Give it a try. Stick to it. Keep working at it. That definition of fake it till you make it, I completely agree. So I said what we talk about today, because I'm sure some of our viewers have rotated, is the secret of doing what you love. And I gave a 3-step recipe. Those 3 steps were figure out what you actually love, which not a lot of people know, or have done the work to really be precise. Figure out what you need to do to get there and make that plan, and then go try it. And that's the fake it till you make it. Then go try it. I showed the picture earlier of all the things in my head that disabled me from trying this. I had all this work and critics, and I was traveling, and I'm a workaholic in the first place. And so I was being a perfectionist at work, and I had to cut a lot of that out. And this is a lifelong battle for people. Like, I don't believe I'm unique. So, okay. Great question. Thank you. We're getting along in the broadcast. We have a couple more good questions. If you want me to answer more, talk to them. And then Kyle, I'm counting on you, buddy. No one has called out the secret object. We have to have that story before the end. So it's back there if you're working on it. Maybe you've just been silent, giving other people a chance. And then we have to have the question of the week. So let's do the question of the week. And then we'll go to more questions. So question of the week. Every week during the broadcast, yep, that was nice of you, Kyle. So you've given others their chance. But they're not coming through for us. So give them another 2 minutes. And then it's all you. So question of the week. Every week we have this question that builds relationship. And we do it down, it was put forth by Arthur Aaron, and it's this idea, and everybody answers it in chat, and I answer it. So this week's question is actually one of the best in terms of, I think it's interesting and it's controversial, and we can have a good talk on it and then come back to this doing what you love, and it will be a good break. So the question of the day is, if you could live until 90, so super bonus, you get to live till 90, with either the mind of a 30-year-old or the body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years. So you have what you have until you get to 30, but after that, you get to live all the way to 90 with either the body of a 30-year-old or the mind of a 30-year-old. Which would you want? And so sound off in chat. Everybody's here. I want to see what people say, and we'll see how this breaks down on gender lines. Because I'm not sure, but I think there's a lot of pressure on women for the body. Look at the body stuff. All right. Oh, Quentin, now come on. I don't buy that. Quentin Tarantino is all right, body and male. Wow, we have one vote for mind. We have one vote for men's, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be mind. There we go. All right, we're getting a lot of body. So I'm on the mind camp on this one. Like, not that I don't want to be healthy. Look, I climb, I ski, I hike. I'm part of a hiking charity, for God's sake, the Washington Trails Association. Um, but I want to have my mind. Um, because being trapped in a shell, like unable to think, don't want Alzheimer, which is what Furrow says. I am completely with that. Talking to my grandparents and not remembering where you place your keys or glasses is frightening. Yeah. Um, wisdom takes time. So, look, it is a trade off. Like, if people end up wheelchair bound or they end up sick or unable to do things they love, at the same time, like, there's an Amazon vice president right now. I'll tell a story. He's got a great attitude about it. Um, he's paralyzed and he's been in a wheelchair since like 16, I think from an accident. So horrible. But he succeeded in Amazon based on his mind. And now he's been dealt a second schmucky situation, which is he's probably near my age, like 40 some would be my guess. And he developed cancer inside his hip. So to save his life, they had to cut off one of his legs. Now, you could say, if you're pretty cavalier, like, well, he couldn't use it anyway. What the hell? But having one of your legs cut off, pretty serious, like pretty hard on your identity. And obviously scary as hell to have cancer, too. The point of this, though, is he has his mind, and that's allowed him to have humor and to stay connected to his friends on Facebook and have a great job and a great family. I think it's more possible to live personally without your body than without your mind. That said, I hope all of us have both. But it's a good question. I appreciate everybody in chat chiming in. I love it when you guys blow up. Feel free always, by the way, as long as we're not being rude. I love controversy in the sense of like interesting controversy, not name calling, but like anytime in chat you disagree with me or you have something to add, please jump in. You all hear this quote from me every week now. None of us is as smart as all of us. Look, speaking of mind, which is my thing, all the people who watch this show and who rewatch it, by the way, on YouTube and leave insightful comments there or listen to it on podcast, you have a lot more to add than I do, and I appreciate hearing it because I learn from chat. Doing this stream has made me smarter. So with that, I'll take a look at chat and then we'll jump back to questions. We only have a couple questions left that have more than one vote, which is kind of one of my ways of telling if they're worth it. So hop in and vote on anything else you want me to answer. And then I have some killer announcements coming up. So I'm thinking about moving into a retirement home early and partying it up. 100% body, being 30-year-old mind, hanging out with old people. All right. You lose wisdom. All right, cool. So question of the day is done. Kyle, we'll come back to the hidden object here in a second. We'll do two more questions and hit it. I think so. The next question has lots of votes. Is trying to determine if I'm losing passion for what I do or if it's frustration about the organization. Any tips for finding clarity on this? Yes. And fantastic question, because that was my point about don't change careers if it's really the people you don't like, but also don't think changing jobs will make you happy if you hate your work. This is what you're trying to figure out. I don't know what you do. Feel free to drop it in chat if you wrote this question. But do you do that work and how do you feel about it on your own? So if you're a programmer, do you write things on the side? If you're an artist and you're not happy at work, are you still drawing on the side? If you're a baker, like the example earlier, do you still enjoy baking when you bake for your family or your friends? Um, if you don't, it's probably a sign you might be burnt out and like need a break. But if you've lost your passion, by the way, that's another thing. Do not confuse needing to change careers with being burnt out. You may just need a break. You may need to take vacation, take a sabbatical, take a hiatus, go into debt. Not that I love that answer, but get some time away to recharge if you've been truly busting your ass for a long time. Um, but if you're not doing your whatever it is you do, if when you do it for a friend or somewhere else, it doesn't light up passion in you, as opposed to outside of work, then you probably don't like that thing anymore. If, on the other hand, when you do it, you love it, but when you have to go do it at work, it's a drag. It's probably the work environment. So I love coaching. It's why I do this. What led me to do this was I found I love coaching so much it was intruding on my work. But I can always be engaged in an interesting personnel situation. I can always be engaged by like, oh, I've got this person working for me or this relationship and it's not working out. What should we do? That stuff lights me up. And if you get that response, it's probably not what you do. It's where you are. If, on the other hand, what you used to do was draw art and you can't imagine ever wanting to pick up a pencil again or a pen or whatever, or you wrote code and you can't stand to look at a keyboard for any reason, it's probably some burnout, but it's probably also it's the organization, right? Sorry, you've lost interest in it. It's not just the organization. So that's my tip. Next question. Hey, Shadow. Yeah, it's good to see you here. Welcome in. We talked about you earlier, but now you're going to have to watch the YouTube to find out why. So we're happy to have you, but we already had our discussion about you. So it's always good to like set people up for that. But yeah, we had a fun talk about everything you bring to the stream. So thanks for joining in when you could. And next week, by the way, I'll give you a heads up. We're going to do a couple of big popular streams I'll talk about in a minute. And our other mod, 40 Pink Dragons, is going to be out hiking in the mountains. And so I want to make sure, Shadow, if at all possible, we can line up so you can be here. Because going to need somebody, particularly when we do the big stream coming up next Tuesday. And I might as well talk about it now so everybody hears about it, because this is really cool. Let me bring it up. So for those of you who don't know, I work with Lou Castle. Lou Castle founded Westwood Studios. And let's see, bring this up. Come on. There we go. I'm going to move out of the way. So that's Lou. Lou built Command and Conquer. And among other things, he's built over 150 video games. And he's going to come on. We're going to do it in Awesome Dave's studio. Dave was here earlier. I don't know if he's still watching. But we're going to do the show in Awesome Dave's studio, which is good for guests. And we're going to have Lou there, and he's going to talk about anything you want. So it's open questions. It's going to be an Ask Me Anything. We're going to talk about different games he's built, Boom Blocks Bash Party. He's built all kinds of stuff. He's been building games. He's worked in Vegas, so he's built casino games. He's worked outside of games as a CFO. He's done all kinds of crazy stuff. And I think having Lou, that show's next Tuesday at 6 p.m. on the 27th. And Lou is a really good public speaker, by the way. I did, 6 p.m. on the 27th Pacific. He's really good at this. He's going to bring his own fan base, so we'll probably have a big active chat. And he's done all kinds of stuff, founded companies. So somebody was just asking about founding your own business. So I'm going to go answer that question. He's done that too. So it's a great question next week. The other show we're going to do next week is follow up with Mugendra, the other person I coach live on stream. So we did Kristen a couple days ago on Monday. We'll do Mugendra next Monday. And we'll follow up. We gave him a bunch of homework. But Lou is a great guest. I did an internal stream at Amazon with him, and it was just a blast. He's a good public speaker. He's willing to share a lot. He won't be able to talk about the games he's building for Amazon, at least in detail. I'll let him decide what he can say. But he's built all kinds of stuff, and I'm super excited to have him as a guest. And this is one where I would say, like, we grow through you. So look, tell your friends, tell your cousins, tell your cousins' friends. If you're interested in games, talking to someone who had a huge career at EA and built a dozen titles in the Command and Conquer franchise, as well as 150 other games, should be interesting to any gamer. So this is me. I'll be honest. I'm not shy. It's me working with a friend of mine to pander to what Twitch loves best, and we can talk careers in games because he's had a hell of a career. All right, good enough. We'll pop that down. So back to the question, and the question was, why work for somebody else other than yourself? Make your own business. Well, risk. Look, if you're going to make your own business, you got to do everything yourself, and not everybody is good at all the different skills required of a business. If you're going to make your own business, you got to hustle up the business and get people to pay. And a lot of people are both terrified of that, quite legitimately, or they have no skills for it. They are just not talented at selling, or not talented at raising money, or not talented at marketing. Maybe you have enough of those talents to get a business off the ground, and then you can hire an accountant and hire a lawyer or contract them. Or maybe you have some skill that's normally done kind of economy, gig economy, like being an artist or being an editor. But for a lot of people, that just isn't what they do, and they like a steady paycheck, and they don't want to worry. So the answer to this is worry. Now, if you have the skills to be your own boss, God bless you. I recommend it 100%. And one of the reasons I built the Easy Coach is as something I can do if and when, wow, hit the table pretty hard there. I can do if and when I no longer want to do what I do today. Like, I would love to do this, more. And hang out here and help people succeed and make this my own business. Do some consulting on the side, do coaching, like private coaching for pay. There's a lot of ways you could turn what I do on the Easy Coach into a business. But yeah, it would be great. Sit here with a glass of wine, put on a nice shirt, or don't even bother and hold forth with you. But not everybody has, I have people helping me even here behind the scenes, and I'm blessed enough to have Awesome Dave for tech and production, Shadow Fox for moderation, as well as 40 Pink Dragons, who is always here. I'm lucky enough to have a couple other people. Shivang, who was on the show before, makes our podcast. Racine makes the YouTube. So to start your own business, this isn't even a business, and it takes 5 people to put this show on every week. So think about that. There's 5 people just to do this show once or twice a week. There you go. All right. That said, if you have the skill to start your own business, do it. Absolutely. You'll never make it. Like, how did Bezos become the richest man in the world? He left a really good paying Wall Street job and go start his own business. How did Elon Musk do it? He worked at PayPal and then started Tesla and SpaceX. Like, yeah, if you can do that, go crazy. All right, next question. It's a long one, so we'll read the question here. How flexible are companies on required work experience? As a college grad with 12 months of internship experience, many jobs require 2+ years in their job openings. If I have the necessary knowledge for the job, should I still apply? Maybe. It really comes down to, Can you get past the automated gatekeeper? In other words, they have an HR set of people that are probably there to say no and to weed you out. Go see the YouTube video we did on how to get the job you want. This is really about figuring out a career and career changing to something you love. If it's how to get hired, I did that talk a couple weeks ago. And I would say people commented that my answer to everything was networking. But I would say go network. Now, I like NVA Hitch. I haven't called him out yet. He's got a really good thing here, though. He says, don't apply for any job you know how to do 100% of. And leave any job where you stop learning. That is such good advice. I might steal it for the future. So well done, Hitch. That's awesome. That's exactly right. And special note, I don't know who wrote this, whether you're male or female, doesn't matter. Women in particular take job requirements as written in stone statistically. And if there's even one job requirement that they don't meet on paper, they don't apply. And men, on the other hand, stereotypically, statistically, jump right in and are like, yeah, I only meet 2 of the 12 requirements, but I'm awesome. And you should totally hire me. They get the jobs because somebody earlier said, fake it till you make it. Well, passion matters and belief in yourself matters. And I'll give you an example. There's a guy we've turned down for a job at Amazon. And he's had so many people network into me saying we made a mistake and that we didn't make the right judgment, that he wasn't a fit. And asking us to re-interview and having him recommended, and I'm starting to question myself, and I've wondered, did we screw this up? And really, what's he done? He hasn't proven anything except he has a lot of friends who think well of him, which is great. Recommendations count, but the fact he's had people I know come and say, you should talk to him again, has me thinking, maybe I blew it. Networking is killer power. So, for this thing, sure, apply all you want, but the best way you're going to get considered is a small company or go in around the side. So, that one didn't get pinned, so it never got displayed. We'll do that real quick. So, that was the question I was answering. We're done with it now, so we're going to move on. Instead, we're going to talk about what would you do if you had a toxic employee who excelled at his role? I'd fire him. That's a little too quick, but nothing is worth destroying the rest of the team. And so I would talk to the toxic employee, explain how they're toxic, and tell them it must change, and try to help them with that, but I will not poison my whole team. There's a great saying here I got out of a military context, but the saying is, the graveyards are full of indispensable men. There are tons of people, probably billions now, that someone thought was indispensable at a job, and then they got old and died, and the world went on. And so I'm being really harsh because it's fun to be harsh sometimes. If you die tomorrow, or I do, Amazon will move on. Your job will move on. And so if you have a toxic employee, you don't need them that badly. And that appears in a book we talk about. There's a story about toxic employees and what to do with them in Extreme Ownership. So we recommend all kinds of books here, but you can find that one in Extreme Ownership. So. Now, I don't fire anyone prematurely. Look, some people don't know that they're assholes. I know that's stunning, but they don't. And how do I know that's true? It's because a lot of times in my career, I've been an asshole and not known it. Because people are jerks, sometimes know they're being jerks, but sometimes they're just being them. You do you. They're not thinking, they're not being thoughtful, they don't know they're rubbing people the wrong way. I'm loud, as an example. And my loud can bother some people. And I also make decisions quickly. I jump to conclusions, and that can bother people. And so one person's toxic, maybe another person just doing their thing. And so I've spent a lot of time learning what do I do that frustrates others and trying to modify it and trying to find jobs where it's an asset. But people deserve coaching and a chance, which is what I try and do here, before they deserve a termination notice. So I've answered the death out of this, but no one is worth screwing up a team. A team is like the most valuable thing in the world, and so get rid of the toxic person if they can't change or learn. Just if you think they're toxic, they may not be. All right, next question. We'll do a couple more and call it a night. This has been fun, everybody. Thank you, and I hope you come to our shows next week. They're going to be killer. They're going to be huge also. I'll make sure we have a big audience. I'm also, by the way, for those, I know there's Devin Nash fans here. I'm going to go back on Devin's show probably over Labor Day. He and I are talking about what day, but we'll probably do a Labor Day weekend show during PAX. So we'll figure that out. Yeah, Nash Nation. All right. And then, so let's see. Next question, pop it up, is how much time would you recommend spending on reflection versus action? I've been known to get stuck in reflection periods where very little gets done. Well, that's interesting. You know, it cuts both ways. Like some people don't bother to reflect. Like I have the reverse problem, is I'm all action. There's a rule I read 20 years ago now that said, for every 10 minutes you spend making a decision, spend 5 minutes figuring out how to communicate it. I think you have to do enough reflecting to learn what worked and what didn't. This is a good story from Ligerbox. My old boss drunkenly challenged me to an MMA fight. Yeah, people do some really dumb things. I completely believe that story, sadly. Like if you put together all the dumb things employees and bosses have done, only happens in Singapore. Sadly, I don't think that's true, T Weirdo. It was in Sweden. In Sweden, of all the places. All right. Finishing this question, analysis of what went right and wrong is really valuable. I talk about this in Decisive. Some people mentioned the book Decisive. Look, Decisive says do a pre-parade and a pre-mortem. Well, you can also do a post-parade and a post-mortem. What those terms mean is if something goes well or may go well, run a parade. We don't spend enough time figuring out this thing went well. What can we learn from what went well so we can do it again? Instead, we do what I'm doing. When something goes well, we drink champagne and we say, yay! And we move on and we right on to the next thing. And we don't spend time to say, well, what actually caused that to go well? What caused that to get to a situation where we're happy? And, I think that's... I have a reminder here too. Don't forget the mystery item. I'll go do that. We'll do that next. And that'll be kind of our denouement. We have one other good question though, and you can look up denouement. Anyway, I think reflecting so that you learn is great. Reflecting so you're paralyzed. You have to distinguish between analysis to learn, good, and analysis paralysis or fear. It took me a while to get this down to a succinct answer for you. Look, very simple. Analysis to learn and to improve. Put in the time, do it. Reflection, that is procrastination, fear, or something else negative that you just have to admit yourself that you're reflecting rather than doing, that's analysis paralysis. No, go do something. Amazon has a leadership principle called bias for action. It comes down to just try it. I agree. And yes, the Rex. Thank you. The hat in the back. So I brought this up to be funny. Let me go get the hat. So if you're watching the last show, I put on a hat that we got when we were on a trip in Cairo and in Egypt. And I referred to the fact that there was a manky ass hat that my wife hated. And so I thought the funny thing would be get the manky ass hat and show why. So here we go. So what could be so bad, right? Ball cap, okay, I get it, a little dorky maybe, but like it was meant for travel and to keep the sun off. Except, let's be honest here. It's a convertible hat. Height of fashion. I mean, sexy, and I know it. And worse than that, it's seen a lot of mileage. So, like, sweat stains. Ew. So, it's a fun story. That's the hat I had to replace with the hat that was last week, a Abercrombie and Fitch model. That's right. Pop it out. Where, you know, sun's out, guns out, right? Oh, missed. Too bad. Anyway, so yeah, the mystery item is the terrible hat that was dirty. We talked that we had the safari hat instead that was better last week. And so yeah, we coaxed Paintbrush Hero out to chat about that. I don't know who you are, Paintbrush, but I saw you follow earlier. I appreciate it. And now here you are coming in to chat an hour later, coaxed out by the hat story. So we'll do a mystery object most weeks. Maybe sometime I'll forget. But yeah, I had to upgrade the hat. And I agree. That hat's seen a lot, though, with me. It's been to the top of Mount Rainier. And I will still keep it for climbing and stuff where I need to cover it. You should do a weekly segment with hats, the Week in Goofy Hats. Yeah, I have a limit to my tolerance for self-embarrassment. It's pretty high, actually, but not that high. All right, we got one question for 3 votes. We're doing that and we're wrapping up, I promise. It's been a good session. We won't take it too long. So here we go. Have you ever had a super profound experience? Uh-oh. Did it just go away? I lost it. We need a way to get it back. Somehow, might have been me. We lost a question. Something about a super profound experience. If you're the one who put that in, throw it up in chat. Otherwise, we'll know. Not to answer it, because whoever asked it went home. I'm not sure how that happened. I think it's probably because I touched something here. So my fault. We'll give it 1 minute to see if it shows up in chat. And otherwise, what's the rest of our announcements? We've covered them all. The usual, follow us on Discord, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. I will post the outline on Discord as soon as I end, and on LinkedIn. Ligerbox, I'll sneak in another question. Burgers or pizza? Pizza. I love both, but definitely pizza. Oh, have you ever had a super profound experience, faith, travel, etc., family, religion? Profound experience. Yes. Thank you, Rex, for asking it. For repeating it since I lost it. I've had a couple of profound experiences. Is a hot dog a sandwich? No, it is not a sandwich. But we're not doing any more memes. You guys can have fun with them. Super profound experience. I've had a couple. I think the most profound for me would take a long time to tell. Let me see if there's a quick version. Okay, it'll be fun. The night I flew into town to interview for Amazon, I've told part of this story before. I flew into town. I was coming from my previous job, which had me in Las Vegas. And in my previous job, so square as I am with the ugly hat, I built lighting systems for nightclubs. And I spent a lot of time in nightclubs. So I was coming from the nightclub industry to Amazon. And the story is I flew into town and I want to go sleep, but I was super hungry because that was before there was good food on, no, not good food, but any food on the flight I was on. And so I got into town starving. I went down, the hotel restaurant was closed. All that was left was the bar. Some of you are thinking, great, all that was left was the bar. But remember, I was supposed to interview the next day. So here I was getting ready to go interview. And I sat down next to this guy. And long story short, I ended up talking to him until way in the middle of the night because he had a lot of problems and I thought I could help him with it. And I felt like that's where God needed me to be at that moment. And we became really, the rest of the story is I went up to my room. I had no time to sleep. I had like 4 or 5 hours to sleep at most. And then I had to go interview at Amazon. And because I totally gave up on Amazon, I'm like, well, I haven't had any sleep. This is going to be a disaster. I just went in and thought, whatever, it's a throwaway day at this. I was super calm. And so that went great. The interview went great. Profound experience that influenced your idea of a dream job was the original question. So my mods found the rest of the question. They said, was it a profound experience that influenced your idea of a dream job? Well, kind of. Like I'll pivot this story into that. So this guy and I became friends, and I tried to help him with his life because he had a lot of problems. He was a gay man who wasn't accepted by his parents, and he was an alcoholic. He eventually did die of alcoholism. But what I found is I love helping people. I love helping people grow their careers. And the experience of trying to help people who are in trouble was pivotal for me. So it wasn't exactly the question that was asked, I guess, but it's a profound experience that showed me that I get my satisfaction from seeing others succeed. And so that's why I'm here. So we talked to somebody, he's not here, I guess, Llama of Llamas, something like that. Coined the phrase a couple weeks ago that the point of my channel is to help you speed run your career. So hopefully we've done that tonight. And so I would like to help you speed run your career. I hope you've gotten some out of it. I'm going to go finish the champagne with my celebrating friends. And I thank you all for being here. Please advertise our stream. I will put up a post on our blog and on LinkedIn tomorrow about our stream with Lou Castle, the founder of Westwood Studios, longtime veteran of EA. Please tell everyone about it for next Tuesday at 6. I love that you all come out, all the loyal fans come out and watch me coach with Mugendra, and I hope you get some things out of that. That's Monday at 8 Pacific. We're going to do 2 shows back-to-back next week. And with that, thank you all. Have a great night. And since it was pointed out, I always say cheers rather than thanks. Cheers.